Good morning children and welcome back to your chemistry class. So today in this chapter of alkanes I shall begin with the physical properties. So what do we know about alkanes? The intermolecular forces in these alkanes, they are due to van der Waals forces. So these forces, they depend upon the shape and the structure of the molecules, right? So several physical properties like your melting point, boiling point, density, and all these depend upon these forces. What are those forces I am talking about? The van der Waals forces. So coming to the first physical property, that is the physical state. Okay, so over here you should be knowing that from carbon 1 to carbon 4, they are all gases, right? Then carbon 5 to carbon 17, they are all liquids. Carbon 17, they occur in the form of liquids, right? And these gases and these liquids, they have characteristic odor. Fine. Then from C18 upwards, they are all solids, and these solids, they are odorless. So what did we study here? That from carbon 1 to carbon 4, they are all gases. Carbon 5 to carbon 17, they are all liquids, and these gases and liquids, they have the characteristic odor. But all the alkanes above C18 and upwards, they all exist in the form of solids and they are odorless. Then talking about their boiling point, they increase with the increase in the number of carbon atoms. So they increase with increase in carbon atoms. Clear? Then what is the reason? What is the reason why the boiling point increases with the increase in carbon atoms? Because addition of each carbon atom in the chain, it increases the boiling point from 20 to 30 degrees Celsius, right? Thus what happens? The size of the molecule increases, surface area increases, better contact between the carbon atom increases, van der Waals forces increases, hence the molecules, they are held very strongly and therefore they require higher boiling point to break the bonds, right? But remember, greater the branching, lower will be the boiling point. What did I say? Greater the branching, lower is the boiling point, right? That is, N isomers of boiling point is low. N isomers have low boiling point, right? Why? Because more compact structure, less surface area is there, less contact with the adjacent molecule. Therefore, the magnitude of the van der Waals forces also decreases and therefore they have low boiling point. I hope everything about boiling point is clear. Next we move to melting point. Now alkanes of odd numbers, they have lower melting point than the even numbers. So what did I say? Alkanes with odd numbers have lower melting point than even numbers, right? Now melting point, it completely depends on the manner in which the molecules are packed in the crystal, right? We know that the carbon atoms of alkanes, they form a zigzag type of chains. So in even number of carbon atoms, the terminal methyl group, it always lies on the opposite side. Look over here, like it always lies on the opposite side. This is 1, this is 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6. So what did I say? Even number of carbon atoms. The methyl group always lies at the opposite sides of the zigzag chain. Whereas if you look at the odd numbers of carbon atoms, so let me see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. This is the odd number. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. What did you see over here? That the terminal methyl group, right? They lie on the same side of the zigzag chain. Thus, they are more unsymmetrical. Odd number carbon atoms, they are quite unsymmetrical, right? As compared to the even ones, they are more symmetrical in nature. Thus, these unsymmetrical odd number of carbon atoms, they do not pack well in the crystal lattice. Hence, less energy is required to break this crystal lattice and melt the solid. Whereas, what do we see over here? Here, since in the even carbon atoms, they are more symmetrical and they form a relatively compact crystal lattice. This requires more energy to melt the solid. I hope this point is very clear to you. Next, we talk about density. Now, density, it increases with increase in the molecular mass. Clear? What did I say? That density, it increases with the increase in the molecular mass. Next, we talk about fifth, solubility. Alkanes, they are soluble in non-polar or slightly polar solvents, right? What did I say? Soluble in non-polar or very slightly polar solvents. For example, they will be soluble where? In like benzene, ether, etc. Right? They are insoluble in polar solvents, like they are not soluble in water. Not soluble in water. So alkanes, they are non-polar compounds and they have affinity for non-polar solvents only. They do not dissolve in polar solvent. This water is your polar solvent. Clear? Now next we come to chemical properties. Now alkanes, they are quite inert towards the common reagents such as like your acid, alkalis, your oxidizing and the reducing agents, okay, at ordinary conditions. Why? Because of their saturated character. Now the electronegativity difference between the carbon and hydrogen, we know it is already very less. For carbon, it is electronegativity is 2.6 and that of hydrogen is 2.1. So this is small and thus the carbon-hydrogen bond is almost non-polar in nature. Now the carbon and the carbon bond, it is completely non-polar because there is no electronegativity difference. Therefore, the polar reagents, they do not find reaction sites on the alkane molecules, right? The carbon-carbon or the carbon-hydrogen bonds, they show strong sigma bonds and they cannot be broken under ordinary conditions. Only at high temperatures the reaction might take place. So now we are going to discuss about some chemical properties of these alkanes. So to begin with, let us start with the substitution reaction. Now these reactions you have already done in class 10th also. So it will be a kind of a revision for you. So substitution reaction. So this kind of reaction, which compounds show? They are the alkanes, single bond or the sigma bond compounds. They show substitution reactions. Substitution reactions are not shown by your alkenes or alkynes. They show addition reactions. Clear? So the reactions in which, what is substitution reactions? That's the reaction in which an atom or group of atoms in a compound, it is replaced by some other atom or group of atoms without bringing any change in the structure of the compound. That is called as your substitution reaction. So to begin with some of the substitution reactions, I start with halogenation. So when the alkanes, they are treated with the halogens, particularly I am talking about chlorine and bromine in the presence of sunlight, then the hydrogen atoms of alkanes, they are successively replaced by the halogen atoms, and therefore the process is termed as halogenation. This extent of halogenation, it depends on the amount of halogen that we are using. So let us start with one of the examples. Like if you remember, I use methane and I treat it with chlorine in the presence of the ultraviolet rays at the temperature 520 to 670 Kelvin. So what happens? Hydrogen chloride will be given out. So it will be formed, CH3Cl plus HCl will be formed. Okay, over here, if more of chlorine is added, then one more hydrogen will be replaced, CH2, and one more chlorine will be added to it, forming H2Cl2 plus HCl will be formed. We add more of chlorine, one more hydrogen removed and one more chlorine is added, forming CHCl3 plus HCl. Clear? Over here, if we add more of chlorine to it, then it forms carbon tetrachloride plus HCl. So what is this complete process termed as? This is called as chlorination. Right? Why chlorination? Because we are using chlorine for the halogenation reaction. Right? Now bromination also takes place exactly in the same process, but it is less vigorous reaction than chlorination. Fine. Then iodination, it shows a reversible reaction. Let me tell you over here. Iodination reaction. Look over here. It shows a reversible reaction, right? That is CH4 plus I2. It is going to show you a reversible reaction forming alkyl halide and HI. So, in the presence of an oxidizing agent HNO3, which oxidizes this HI, this will check the reversibility, and therefore to this HI, when we add HNO3 in this reaction, then it is going to form I2 plus 2NO2 plus 2H2O. Clear? Thus, in iodination, what did we study? That we need to add HNO3. Why? Because it shows a reversible reaction. So the presence of this oxidizing agent, it oxidizes what? HI, and hence it forms iodine. Clear? Then next we talk about fluorination. It is an explosive reaction. Now we need to discuss about the mechanism of this chlorination, which you can also understand for bromination. Let's understand the mechanism of chlorination. Understand, this takes place in 3 steps, right? So first step, in the presence of sunlight, and at around 520 to 670 Kelvin, the chlorine molecule first breaks into chlorine free radical. So that will be your first step. This is your chlorine molecule. So this chlorine molecule I can also write like this. Clear? This chlorine molecule can be written like this, or I can write it down like this also. Clear? So over here what happens? A fission takes place, right? One electron here and one electron is here. So this electron goes to chlorine and this electron goes to chlorine over here, and thus they form a free radical. These chlorines, what are they called as? Free radicals. Free radicals of chlorine are formed over here, right? This first step is called as initiation step. It is highly reactive and it is also an endothermic reaction. Lot of heat is given over here for the reaction to proceed, right? So over here the chlorine free radical, now it is going to attack the methane molecule. This will happen where? In the second step. The second step is called as propagation. Now what is the meaning of propagation? Propagation means to continue. So once this free radical is formed, you know, the propagation means to form number of more free radicals. Propagation means to continue. So now in this second step, number of more free radicals will continuously be formed over here. So let's see, what did I tell you? This free radical of chlorine is now going to attack the methane group. So this chlorine radical, okay, free radical, I can write this electron anywhere. Here, 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 that is not a problem. This will attack the methane. Now look at the methane that I am drawing over here. This is your methane molecule. Clear? Now over here what happens? Homolytic fission takes place. I am mentioning it over here. Homolytic fission takes place, right? And hence this electron moves towards this hydrogen, this electron moves towards this carbon. Now this free radical will have the tendency either to combine with this hydrogen or to combine with the carbon. Clear? This free radical of chlorine, when the fission takes place, when one molecule is divided into two parts, whether it is going to join with H or is it going to join with carbon, this is to be seen. So over here, this radical has more tendency to combine with hydrogen. Why? Because the chlorine bonds, they strongly react with hydrogen rather than with carbon, right? And therefore when it combines with hydrogen, what is it going to form? HCl. Plus, since I told you it is a propagation step, so number of free radicals, now this becomes a free radical, so this is going to form CH3. This is your free radical now. Now what happens in the same step? As I told you, number of free radicals, this is the first free radical formed. Now this free radical CH3, it will again combine with the chlorine atom, Cl, Cl, right? Again here what happens? Fission takes place. Fine. So this is now what it is going to form. It is going to, this CH3 will combine with one of the chlorine, forming CH3Cl, and one free radical will be given out. And this again attacks the methane group, and therefore the step continues till either methane or chlorine finishes. And thus, as I told you in the previous reaction, that CH2Cl2 or CHCl3 and finally CCl4 is formed. This is the method how it continues till what? your all hydrogen atoms are exhausted and it forms CCl4. Next we come to the third step. The third step is called as chain termination. Okay, termination means coming to an end. So over here we pick up all the free radicals from the first and the second step, from the initiation step and the propagation step, and we bring it over here and we form the molecule, right? So from the first initiation state we had the two chlorine free radicals. They combine to give us chlorine, right? Now look at the second propagation step. What is this? This is one of your free radical combines with another free radical. It is going to form an ethane. Then another free radical of chlorine. It will form CH3Cl and so on. Is that clear? So on it is going to form CH2Cl2, CH3 and CCl4. So the ethane that is formed, it is a minor product. The ethane that will be formed in between will be a minor product. A major product will be your CCl4 or the CH2Cl2. So this was the mechanism of chlorination. The same way you can study about the mechanism of bromination. They are one of the same thing, but I had told you that bromination is a less vigorous reaction than chlorination, right? Second substitution reaction that we are going to talk about is nitration. So replacement of a hydrogen atom by a nitro group. What is that nitro group? NO2 group. This is called as nitration, right? So the action of nitric acid on alkanes, it is going to show you this process of nitration. For example, CH4 when treated with HNO3 at temperature 723 Kelvin, then it is going to form what? CH3NO2 plus H2O. What is the name of this CH3NO2? This is called as nitromethane. Followed? Then let's take more examples like ethane CH3CH3 when combines with HNO3 at the same temperature, it is going to form CH3CH2NO2 plus CH3NO2. What is the name of this? This is called as nitroethane, and as you know, this is called as nitromethane. So what are we seeing here? That as the alkanes, higher the alkanes, more complicated are the products. The mixtures are more. So this is the first member of the alkane group. So it has only nitromethane. When you move to the second member, it has formed nitroethane and nitromethane. When you move to the third member, it will form nitropropane, nitroethane, nitromethane. So higher the alkanes, they give more complicated mixture. So this nitration is clear. Next we come to sulfonation. Let's understand what is sulfonation. So when alkane, it is treated with H2SO4 at higher temperature, and here what happens then? One hydrogen atom will thus be replaced by a sulfonic group. What is that sulfonic group represented as? SO3H group. Okay, then the process is termed as sulfonation. So let's take one example like C6H14 plus H2SO4 when treated at 673 Kelvin. Okay, so what is it going to form? Here C6H13SO3H and water will be formed. What is the name of this compound? This will be termed as hexane sulfonic acid. Okay, what is the name of this compound? Hexane sulfonic acid. So these were some of your substitution reactions. We studied what? The halogenation, nitration and sulfonation. Now let us come to the second kind of reaction, that is oxidation reactions. Right? So firstly, combustion. Over here, combustion when insufficient, in the presence of sufficient amount of oxygen. So in sufficient amount of oxygen, what do we see? That methane combines with oxygen will form carbon dioxide and water vapor. Clear? Similarly, 2C2H6 ethane will combine with 7 parts of oxygen forming carbon dioxide and water molecule. So in sufficient amount of oxygen, combustion of alkane, it always forms carbon dioxide and water vapor. Then in insufficient amount of oxygen, it will form carbon monoxide. So CH4 plus, this will be 2CH4 plus 3O2. This will form carbon monoxide and water vapor will be formed over here. Clear? Still there is insufficient of oxygen, right? Then in that case, this methane will combine with oxygen to form only carbon, that is the soot, plus water vapor will be formed. Then we come to the next kind of oxidation, that is the catalytic oxidation. Catalytic oxidation means in the presence of a catalyst. So few of the reactions, like when methane combines with oxygen in what ratio? 9:1 part of it at 423 Kelvin and 100 atmosphere. So what is the catalyst used over here? We are going to use copper tubes. When we use copper tubes at 423 Kelvin and 100 atmosphere, we get an alcohol. That is called as your methyl alcohol with methane. Similarly, when methane treated with oxygen, when at say 543 Kelvin, 100 atmosphere, I am going to change the catalyst and I am going to use molybdenum oxide. So with molybdenum oxide, it is going to form a aldehyde. So HCHO plus water will be formed over here. So what you have to remember till now, what we studied in catalytic oxidation, if we are using copper tubes at 423 and 100 atmosphere, we are forming an alcohol. With molybdenum oxide at 543 Kelvin and 100 atmosphere, we are forming an aldehyde. Higher alkanes, when they combine with oxygen in the presence of manganese stearate. Okay, stearate, again the temperature that could be used over here is 373 to 433 Kelvin. Then long chain fatty acids are formed. I am writing over here long chain fatty acids are formed over here. That is CH3 CH2N times COOH plus water will be formed here. Okay, then over here I'll write alkane with the tertiary hydrogen atoms. Alkanes with tertiary hydrogen atoms. Let's see over here. like for example CH3, CH3, CH3. This is tertiary, no? When this is oxidized in the presence of KMnO4, right? Then this is also going to form alcohol. Which alcohol? Let's see here. CH3, 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 OH. And this alcohol is called as 2-methyl. 1, 2, 3. So at 2 we have a methyl. 2-methyl propane 2-ol. Clear? So these were some of the oxidation reactions. What did we study? Oxidation reactions we studied in two parts. Firstly, combustion straight away. Insufficient amount of oxygen, it forms always carbon dioxide, and water in insufficient amount, it will form carbon monoxide. And when there is no presence of oxygen, nil, then it is going to form carbon or the soot. Then in the presence of catalysts, which two catalysts did we study over here? Copper tubes if we use, then we form alcohol. If we use molybdenum oxide, we form aldehyde. And higher alkanes with manganese stearate, they are going to form long fatty acids. Then the oxidation in the presence of KMnO4, the tertiary carbon hydrogen atoms, they form 2-methyl propanol, that is the alcohol that is formed. So I stop over here. There are some more chemical properties with which I am going to come to you in the next video. Thank you.